The old man has been making tea for 60 years. Same leaves, same water temperature, same unhurried motion of the hand that lifts, pours, sets down. He is not famous. He owns nothing remarkable. He has never left this province. And there is something in his eyes, a quality of settled aliveness, that most men will spend their entire lives chasing without ever finding. Here is the question that will follow you out of this video if you let it. What are you doing this for? Not the surface answer, not the answer you give when someone asks at a gathering. The polished, reasonable, socially acceptable version of purpose that sounds like an answer and functions like a wall. The real one. The one that lives beneath the career and the obligations and the accumulated momentum of a life built more from default than from decision. Most men never ask it. Not because they are shallow, not because they don't care, because the answer, the honest one, requires something they have not yet been willing to pay. The Japanese have a word for what the old man has. Ikigai. It is one of the most used and most misunderstood words to have traveled beyond Japan's shores. Most people encounter it as a diagram. 4 overlapping circles. What you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for. Find the center and you have found your purpose. Clean, simple, completely missing the point. Because Ikigai is not a diagram. It is not a career framework, not a life optimization tool, not a Venn diagram with your destiny hiding in the intersection. Ikigai, at its most honest, most lived, most Japanese, is something far simpler and far harder than any of that. It is the reason you rise, not the reason you perform rising, not the reason you tell yourself you should rise, not the reason that looks good written down. The pull, the thread, the thing that makes the next breath feel like it is going somewhere. And the man who has found it, truly found it, not constructed it, not borrowed it, not decided it intellectually, looks exactly like the old man making tea. Unhurried, unperforming, completely, quietly alive. The man who had everything and woke empty. His name was Taro. He was 43 years old when the emptiness became impossible to ignore. Not a crisis, nothing dramatic. No single morning where everything collapsed. Just a Tuesday in early winter when he sat on the edge of his bed before dawn, looked at the day ahead of him, and felt nothing. Not dread, not depression, not the sharp suffering of a man in genuine pain. Something quieter and, in its own way, more devastating. Nothing. A complete, clean, total absence of any feeling that what he was about to do mattered. By every measure the world uses, Taro's life was a success. He had built a merchant business from near nothing, 20 years of early mornings and difficult decisions and the particular grit of a man who refuses to let obstacles become endings. He had standing in his community, the respect of men whose respect was not easily given. He had achieved, in other words, exactly what he had aimed for. And the achieving had left him empty, not ungrateful, not blind to what he had built. Empty in the specific way that a vessel is empty, capable of holding something, currently holding nothing. The first thing he did was the thing most men do when the emptiness arrives. He worked harder, expanded the business, took on more, filled the days so completely that there was no space left in them for the question that was trying to surface. It worked. For a while. The way it always works. For a while. Before the quiet reasserts itself in the gaps between the doing. He tried discipline next. Structure. The external architecture of a purposeful life assembled in the hope that the feeling of purpose would follow. It did not follow. And then, on an evening in late autumn, he made a decision that he could not fully explain to himself at the time. He closed the accounts, handed the day's work to his most trusted man, and walked, without destination, without plan, and without the comfortable weight of a task defining his direction, into the city. He walked for 2 hours, past the merchant stalls closing for the evening, past the lantern light reflected in puddles from the afternoon's rain, past the particular quality of stillness that settles over a city when the day's business is finished and the night has not yet fully arrived. He was not looking for anything, which is, as it turns out, exactly the right condition for finding something. He found the old man by following the smell of tea, a small space at the edge of a narrow street. Not a shop exactly, more like a room that had decided to be partially public. Low table, 2 cushions. A man behind them whose age was impossible to determine precisely and whose stillness was impossible to ignore. Taro stopped. He did not know why he stopped. He sat down. The old man, whose name Taro would later learn was Seijun, did not look up immediately. He finished what he was doing, set the cup down with the care of someone for whom no motion is too small to be done well. Then he looked at Taro, not with the assessment of a merchant calculating a transaction, with simple, unhurried attention. "Tea?" he said. Taro said yes. He did not intend to stay more than a few minutes. He stayed until the lanterns burned low. Not because Seijun said anything remarkable in those first hours, not because wisdom was dispensed or questions were answered, because sitting across from a man who is completely, visibly, utterly at home in his own life does something to a man who is not. It makes the absence visible, not cruelly, not as accusation, simply as contrast, in the way darkness becomes visible when a lantern is lit nearby. When Taro finally stood to leave, he said, without planning to say it, the words arriving before the decision to speak them, "How did you find it?" Seijun looked up. "Find what?" "Whatever it is you have," said Taro. "That stillness, that quality of being where you are." The old man was quiet for a moment. "I didn't find it," he said. "Then how?" "I stopped looking for something else," said Seijun. "There is a difference." Taro walked home in the dark. The city was quiet around him, and the words followed him the way the important ones always do. Not loud, not insistent, but present, persistent as lantern smoke. "I stopped looking for something else." He had been looking for something else his entire adult life. He had called it success, called it security, called it the next milestone, the next achievement, the next version of the life he was building. He had never once stopped to ask whether the direction he was building in was his own. What Seijun meant by that, what it actually costs to stop looking for something else, and why most men cannot pay that price without first losing something they thought they needed. That is what the next morning began to reveal. And what it revealed was not comfortable, but it was, for the first time in 20 years, real. The 4 roots. Taro returned the next morning. He did not plan to. He woke before dawn with the particular restlessness of a man whose sleep has been interrupted not by noise but by thought, and found his feet already moving in the direction of the narrow street before his mind had fully consented to the journey. And Seijun was already there, already making tea, as though the morning required it, as though the alternative, a morning without this specific, unhurried motion, was not something he had considered. Taro sat down. He watched, and for the first time in longer than he could accurately remember, he did not immediately reach for something to do with his hands. "You came back," said Seijun. "Not a question." "I didn't sleep," said Taro. "What kept you awake?" "What you said, about stopping looking for something else." He paused. "I don't know how to do that." Seijun poured the tea, set the cup in front of Taro with the same care he gave every cup, not more, not less. "Most men don't," he said, "because they have never asked what they are actually looking for. They have only asked how to get more of whatever they already have." He reached beneath the table and placed 4 smooth stones between them. Different sizes, same gray river stone. "Pick them up," he said. Taro picked up the 4 stones. "Now tell me, what are you holding?" "4 stones," said Taro. "No," said Seijun. "You are holding 4 questions, and until a man can answer all 4 honestly, not impressively, not correctly, but honestly, he will spend his life building in the wrong direction." He touched the first stone. "What makes you forget that time is passing?" Not, "What do you enjoy?" Not, "What are your hobbies?" Not, "What do you wish you had more time for?" What makes you forget that time is passing? Taro opened his mouth, closed it. The honest answer was not the impressive one. The honest answer was, he didn't know. And he had been so long without that experience that he could not locate its last occurrence. "Think about it," said Seijun. "Don't answer yet." He touched the second stone. "What do you do better than you think you do?" Not, "What are your skills?" Not, "What do people praise you for?" What do you do better than you think you do? The distinction is precise and uncomfortable. Most men know what they are praised for. They have calibrated their self-image around external confirmation, the nod of approval, the recognition of peers, the market that rewards certain things and ignores others. But beneath the praised things, quieter, less visible, occasionally dismissed as unremarkable, there are usually things done with a natural quality that the man himself has never fully seen. Because no one confirmed it. Here, because it came too easily to feel like an achievement. Because the things we do most naturally are often the last things we credit ourselves for. He touched the third stone. Where does the world feel the absence of something only you could give? Taro frowned. That is an enormous question, he said. Yes, said Sejun. Most men shrink from it. They say, I am one man. What could I possibly give that the world would notice? He picked up the third stone and held it. But that is not the question. The question is not whether the world will notice. The question is whether there is a place, a person, a community, a craft, a need, where your specific presence creates something your absence would make smaller. He set it down. Every man has at least one such place. Most men never find it because they are looking for a place that will also applaud. He touched the fourth stone. What would you do every day if the outcome was guaranteed to be forgotten? Silence. Not the comfortable silence of a man considering. The uncomfortable silence of a man who has just had a question land somewhere deeper than he was prepared for. Because the fourth stone is where the entire structure either holds or collapses. The first three can be answered. Imperfectly, partially, with some mixture of honesty and performance, and still point generally in the right direction. The fourth has no room for performance, because the outcome being forgotten removes every external reason. No legacy, no recognition, no story told about you afterward, no confirmation from the world that the doing was worth the doing. Just the thing itself. And the man who can answer that question, who can identify what he would do anyway, in the clean absence of every reward, that man is standing at the entrance of his Ikigai. Not inside it yet, but facing the right direction. For possibly the first time. Taro sat with the four stones in his hands for a long time. Sejun did not press him, did not offer suggestions or examples, or the comfortable scaffolding of a teacher who cannot tolerate the student's silence. He simply made another cup of tea and waited. This is the first myth that must break here. The myth that Ikigai is discovered through thinking. That if you sit with the right questions long enough, arrange the right framework, examine your history with sufficient precision, the answer will surface like a mathematical solution. Clear, definitive, actionable. It does not work that way. The four stones are not an exercise. They are a direction. They point, imprecisely, approximately, like a compass rather than a map, toward something that can only be confirmed through one thing, living toward it. Small, tentative, without certainty. The way you confirm that a path is real not by studying it from a distance, but by placing your foot on it and feeling whether the ground holds. Taro finally looked up. I can answer the first three, he said. Approximately, honestly. And the fourth, he was quiet. I'm afraid of the fourth. Sejun looked at him with the expression of a man who has heard this exact sentence many times and found it, each time, to be the most promising thing a student has said. Good, he said. Why good? Because the fourth stone only frightens the men who already know the answer. If you feel the particular discomfort of that, if the fourth question landed somewhere specific in you and you pulled back from where it was pointing, this is not a sign to stop. This is the sign. The thing you pulled back from is not the edge of something dangerous. It is the beginning of something true. And the distance between where you are and where it is pointing, that is not an obstacle. That is simply the path. Taro left that morning with 4 stones in his pocket. He had not asked to take them. Sejun had not offered. He had simply, without thinking, without deciding, closed his hand around them when he stood. Sejun watched him go without comment. There was a 5th thing. A 5th element that the 4 stones could point toward, but could not deliver. Something that Taro would have to find not through questioning or reflection or the patient teaching of an old man with good tea. Something that could only be found through the one place most men refuse to look. The place where the life they are living and the life they are capable of living stand facing each other in silence. and one of them has to step aside. What that confrontation looks like, and what it costs the man who is willing to go through it rather than around it. That is where this story turns, and where, for Taro, everything that had been built over 20 years was placed on the floor and examined for the first time, honestly. The confrontation with the unlived life. The fifth element has no stone. When Sejun told Taro this on the third morning, when Taro arrived with the 4 stones still in his pocket and the 4th question still unanswered. The 4 roots point inward, the old man said, but Ikigai is not found inward. It is found in the movement between the inside and the outside, between who you are and what you give. He poured the tea. The 5th element is not a question, it is an action, small, specific, taken before you feel ready. What action? That, said Sejun, is the only thing I cannot tell you. Taro spent the next week in a particular kind of discomfort, not the dramatic discomfort of a man in crisis, the low, persistent discomfort of a man who has been shown a direction and is finding every reason not to walk in it. He returned to the business, sat with the accounts, had the conversations that needed having, and in every quiet moment between the doing, the 4th stone. What would you do every day if the outcome was guaranteed to be forgotten? He kept pulling back from it, not because he didn't know, because he knew exactly, and what he knew frightened him in a way that 20 years of merchant risk had never frightened him. He had been a craftsman before the merchant life, briefly. In the years before success had offered him a more impressive direction. He had carved wood, not sculptures, not anything with a name or a category or a tradition behind it, just objects, small, considered, shaped by hand with the kind of attention that makes the hours disappear. He had been good at it, not in a way anyone had confirmed, not in a way that had attracted teachers or patrons or any of the external validation that tells a man his gift is real. He had simply been absorbed by it, completely, quietly, without effort. And he had left it behind the way a man leaves behind the things that feel too simple to be serious, too quiet to be worthy of the life he was constructing. He told Sejun. The old man listened without interrupting. When Taro finished, the silence lasted long enough to be its own response. Then Sejun said, "Why did you stop?" "It wasn't practical," said Taro. "It wasn't going to build anything." "And what did you build instead?" "A business, security, a life that works." "Does it?" said Sejun. Not cruel, not rhetorical. A genuine question from a man who already knew the answer and was simply waiting to see if Taro did too. The silence that followed was the longest one yet. Taro sat with it, not filling it, not defending, not constructing the reasonable argument for why a man with obligations cannot return to what he was before the obligations arrived. He sat with it the way you sit with something heavy that you have been carrying so long you forgot it was something you picked up rather than something you were born with. "I'm 43 years old," he said finally. "Yes," said Sejun. "It's too late to..." "For what?" the monk said quietly. "To be recognized? To build a new career from it? To become something impressive?" He set down his cup. "Or too late to spend the remaining years of your life doing something that makes the next breath feel like it is going somewhere." This is the trap that Ikigai specifically and mercilessly exposes, the belief that purpose must arrive as a transformation, a reinvention, a dramatic pivot that justifies the years spent without it. The belief that if you cannot make the thing your livelihood, your legacy, your publicly recognized contribution, it does not count, it does not qualify. It is not serious enough to be called a reason for being. This is the trap. And it has buried more Ikigai than any other single belief available to a man in the middle of his life, because Ikigai does not require an audience. The old man making tea is not famous. He has never left the province. His tea will not be remembered. He makes it anyway, every morning, with the full weight of who he is. And that, precisely that, is what makes his eyes hold what they hold. If you feel the resistance rising right now, the voice that says your answer to the 4th stone is too small, too late, and too ordinary to be the thing, that voice is not wisdom. That voice is the performance speaking. The part of you that has spent so long building a life for external eyes, that it has forgotten how to build for the internal ones. Ikigai does not care about the external eyes. It only asks one thing: does the next breath feel like it is going somewhere? Taro went home that evening and found a piece of wood. Not a special piece, not something chosen with ceremony or intention. A piece of wood from the pile beside the fire, rough-edged, unremarkable. He sat with it for a long time without touching it. Then he picked up the old knife he had kept. He had not examined why he had kept it. Through every move and change and expansion of the business. And he began. Not to make something, just to make. He worked for 2 hours. He did not produce anything finished. Did not produce anything he would show anyone. He produced something far more significant than either of those. He produced the feeling, the one he had left behind at 23, thinking he was moving towards something better. The hours disappearing, the mind going quiet. The particular quality of absorption that is not the absence of thought, but the organization of it. Every part of him pointed in the same direction simultaneously, without conflict, without the divided attention that had characterized every day of the previous 20 years. He set the knife down, looked at the rough shape in his hands, felt something he did not immediately have a word for, then found one. Home. The next morning he arrived at Sejun's table later than usual. The old man looked at his hands, said nothing, right, but something in his expression shifted, the door releasing before the handle turns. "You found the fifth element," he said. "I haven't changed anything," said Taro. "The business is still there. My obligations are still there. Nothing is different." "Everything is different," said Sejun quietly. "You are different, and a different man living the same life lives a different life." He poured the tea. Ikigai does not require you to burn down what you have built. It requires you to stop pretending that what you have built is enough on its own. This is the second myth that must die completely. The myth that finding your reason for being requires abandoning your life. It does not. It requires adding the one thing your life has been missing, not as performance. Not as a side project managed alongside everything else with the efficiency of a man optimizing his schedule. As a root, something that goes down into the ground beneath everything else you are doing and feeds it. The merchant who carves wood in the evenings is not a failed craftsman. He is a merchant with roots, and a man with roots does not blow over in the first difficult wind. He bends and comes back. But there was something Taro had not yet understood about the root. Something Sejun had been waiting, through all the mornings of tea and stones and patient silence, for Taro to become ready to hear. Not about what Ikigai gives you, about what it asks of you in return. And what it asks is the one thing most men spend their entire lives protecting. The reason the old man rises. The morning Sejun told him the final thing was an ordinary morning. No ceremony. No particular quality of light that distinguished it from the mornings before. Just tea. Just the low table. Just the narrow street beginning its slow daily awakening outside. Taro had been coming for 30 days. He had been carving every evening. Nothing finished. Nothing shown. Just the wood and the knife and the hours that disappeared inside the doing. And something had changed in him that he could not precisely name, but could feel the way you feel a shift in weather, not by seeing it, but by the change in the air against your skin. He was lighter, not happier in any loud or performed sense. Lighter, the way a man is lighter when he has set something down that he was never meant to carry indefinitely. And Sejun looked at him across the table. "You are different," he said. "I feel different," Taro said. "But nothing has changed. The business is the same. The obligations are the same. I carve wood in the evenings and nothing about it is significant." "And yet," said Sejun. "And yet," Taro agreed. The old man wrapped both hands around his cup. "Now," he said, "I will tell you the thing I could not tell you on the first morning. The thing that would have meant nothing then and means everything now." Taro waited. "Ikigai is not the thing you find," said Sejun. "It is the thing you give." Silence. The particular silence of a simple sentence that contains more than its length suggests. "I don't understand," said Taro. "You have spent 30 days finding the root, the thing that makes the hours disappear. The reason the next breath feels like it is going somewhere. Sejun set down the cup. That is necessary. That is the beginning. But it is only the beginning. Because a root that feeds only itself is not a root. It is a stone. The root only becomes what it is meant to be when it feeds something beyond itself. He told Taro about his own beginning. Not as a lesson, as a fact, offered with the flatness of a man who has made peace with his own history so completely that it no longer requires careful handling. He had been a tea merchant once, successful, respected, empty in exactly the way Taro had been empty. He had found the tea ceremony not as a career, but as the wood had found Taro, as the thing beneath the thing he thought he was building toward. He had practiced it for years in private. Then one morning, a young man had sat at his table, lost in a way Sejun recognized because he had been lost in the same way, and Sejun had made him tea, with full attention, with everything the practice had given him, and he had watched something happen in the young man's face, a small opening, a brief, visible softening of whatever was held tight. That morning, said Sejun, was the first morning I understood what I was making the tea for. He looked at Taro. It was never the tea. Ikigai in its complete form is not the discovery of what absorbs you. That is the root. The flower is what that absorption makes possible for something beyond you. Not grand, not public, not the scale of a legacy or a movement or any of the impressive forms that purpose takes in the stories men tell about meaningful lives. Something smaller, not more specific, more real. The craftsman whose work gives a young man the first object he has owned that was made with full attention and changes, quietly, how he thinks about attention. The tea maker whose presence gives a lost merchant the first experience of a man completely at home in his life and changes quietly. What the merchant understands is possible. The teacher, the builder, the man who rises before dawn not to achieve something for himself, but because the rising serves something that will continue after the rising is finished. That is Ikigai in full bloom. That is the reason the old man rises. Taro was quiet for a long time. Then, the wood, he said slowly. I have a nephew, 14. He has his father's hands, good hands, the kind that understand objects. But no one has shown him what to do with them. Sejun said nothing. I could show him, said Taro. Still nothing. That's very small, said Taro. Yes, said Sejun. It won't change anything significant. It will change him, said Sejun. Significantly, he poured the last of the tea. And it will change you, because the man who gives what he has found does not lose it. He discovers how deep it actually goes. Here, now, your life. You are not a merchant in a narrow street with 4 stones on a low table. But you have the 4 stones. You have always had them. The question of what makes you forget time is passing. The question of what you do better than you think you do. The question of where the world feels the absence of something only you could give. And the 4th one. The one you may have already felt lands somewhere specific while reading this. What would you do every day if the outcome was guaranteed to be forgotten? You don't need to answer all 4 today. You don't need to rebuild your life around the answers. You need one thing. The same thing Taro needed on that first evening when he followed the smell of tea into a narrow street and sat across from a man whose eyes held something he could not name. He needed to stop. Not forever, not dramatically. Just long enough to ask the question he had been answering with movement for 20 years. What am I doing this for? Not the surface answer, the real one. Tonight, before the day's momentum carries you into tomorrow without the pause, find the question that the 4th stone points toward. You already know what it is. You have known for longer than you have been willing to admit. It does not need to be practical yet. It does not need to be impressive. It needs only to be honest. And the man willing to be honest, with himself, in private, without audience, that man has already taken the first step onto a path that most people spend their entire lives walking parallel to. Close, but not on it. Taro began teaching his nephew the following week. No ceremony, no announcement. He simply brought the boy to the workbench one evening, placed a piece of wood in his hands, and showed him how to hold the knife. The boy was clumsy, uncertain, produced nothing resembling the shapes Taro had been producing, and Taro felt In the watching, in the showing, in the patient repetition of here, like this, on feel the grain not against it. Something he had not felt in 20 years of building something impressive, necessary, not to the world, not in any measurable sense, necessary to the boy, and therefore necessary. He went to Sejun the next morning. He did not say much. He sat down, accepted the tea, sat with it in the particular silence of a man who has found, after a long search conducted mostly in the wrong direction, something he was not sure he believed still existed. Sejun looked at him. "There it is," he said. "I only showed him how to hold the knife," said Taro. "Yes," said the old man. "And tomorrow you will show him something else, and the day after. And at some point, not soon, not dramatically, he will pick up the knife when you are not there, and something you gave him will continue without you." He lifted his cup. "That is what a life is for. Not the accumulation, not the achievement, the continuation of something true, passed from one hand to the next." The old man making tea. 60 years, same leaves, same water, same unhurried motion. He is not famous. He owns nothing remarkable. He has never left the province. And every man who has ever sat across from him has left carrying something they cannot quite name. A quality of possibility. The quiet, radical understanding that a life does not have to be large to matter. It has to be true. True to the root. True to the flower. True to the thread that connects what you are with what you give, and makes the space between those two things not a gap to be managed, but a path to be walked. Every morning, every cup of tea, every piece of wood shaped by honest hands, the tea grows cold. The lantern burns low. The narrow street is quiet. And the old man, who has no reason to rise that the world would call impressive, and every reason to rise that the world most needs, rises anyway. Before the light, before the noise, into the particular stillness of a morning that belongs entirely to the thing he has chosen, and that has, in return, chosen him. If you know your fourth stone, leave it below. Just one word. You'll know which one.